everyone, this is Mindy and welcome to another edition of Handmade Christmas, where today I'm going to be creating this matching set. It is going to have a card, envelope, and gift tags. Now be sure to stick around to the end because I have something very special to share with you from Gina K Designs. Gift cards seem to be more and more popular, and for mine, I am going to be using the gift card envelope and tag from Gina K Designs. My daughter loves gift cards and loves having them specialized for particular companies, so I decided to create a little matching set. I'm taking both of these dies and I'm going to die cut them from some Kraft Cardstock. Once I run them through my die cut machine, the die is going to put impressions on here on where you need to fold them. So I'm starting with the gift card envelope, which is super cute. I am going to just use my fingers to bend along those scored lines and then reinforce those folds with my bone folder. Now, if it's a little hard to see those scored lines, you could always take this over to your scoring board to reinforce those folds. Now, my plan is that I'm going to be decorating just the very front of this envelope. So once I have all of these folds kind of reinforced, I'm going to also grab the gift tag, I think it's called the gift tag holder, and these also have some scored lines. Now, what's really cute about this is it looks like a tag on the front, but there is a pocket on the other side that you can slip. You can put money in here, you could put a note, you could put a gift card. Now, these also have those scored lines that I'm going to just reinforce right now with the bone folder. Then I'm going to just open up all of those folds. One of the reasons I think that this is super cute is you can either hang it on a present or you can hang it on a tree, which is actually what I plan on doing. To decorate the front of everything, I'm going to be using the Christmas Flowers Layering Stencil. This is a 4-piece stencil set. It has 2 layers for the flowers, 1 for the leaves, and 1 for some added details. I'm taking a piece of Kraft Cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm rolling up a piece of Post-it tape and placing that on the back to secure that down to my work surface. I have just a grid mat here that I placed it on top of, just kind of be able to line up my stencils a little bit better, and you'll see that in a moment. So this is the first layer of the stencil. I lined that up over my craft panel, and I'm holding that stencil down with Post-it tape. I'm starting by creating a card front because I hadn't used the stencil yet, and I thought this would give me a good idea of what this is going to look like and how my colors are going to work on the Kraft Cardstock. I am starting with red velvet ink on this first layer of the stencil. This is the layer that is the most open. It has most open areas of the stencil. And I'm bringing in the red velvet with my blending brush. I'm being very careful with those center pieces. Now, mine did not move. They worked really well with my blending brush. But if you're a little nervous about those shifting, you could always use like a pixie spray behind them to help tack that down to your cardstock. If you happen to be working on a Kraft cardstock like I am, keep in mind that the colors are going to look a little different. They're going to be a little bit more muted than if you were doing this on white. So after this first layer of the stencil, I'm going to remove my Post-it tape. And I almost forgot, I wanted to be able to line up each of the stencils. So before I really moved my stencil, I took my blending brush and just went over the corners, which is one of the reasons that I have this grid paper down. You could also just use some printer paper, anything like that. I just wanted to be able to see where my previous stencil was, so I could line up the rest of the stencils. Now, for the most part, the stencils do just line right up over the image, and it's pretty easy to line up. The leaves I was a little nervous about, which is why I added in those blended areas on the corners. Now, the second layer of the stencil, I'm using faded brick. This is going to add a darker color to the center. Now, I also needed to remember that the inks do dry back, and of course we're factoring in that Kraft cardstock. So you're going to see how this looks after it dries and that I change up my inking game a little bit. For the leaves, I'm going to be using 2 shades of green because we only have 1 layer of leaves for the stencil, and I want to be able to add some contrast to them. I'm starting off with light spruce, going over every part of the leaves. And for me, it really helped to have those blended corners so I could line up my leaves perfectly. Now, once I have the light spruce, which you can see doesn't look super light when it's on craft, but it is a really pretty color combination. Now I'm going to bring in the dark spruce. So I jumped up a couple shades and I'm adding that with a mini blending brush just to the inner portions of the leaves. The parts that's closest to the flower is where I added that darker color. So I'm going to finish adding that dark color to the leaves, and then I can remove this layer of the stencil. Now, one of the ideas I had was I was thinking about adding like a lunar paste or some sort of paste to this fourth layer of the stencil, and I didn't want to do that just yet because I wanted to die cut my piece. So for right now, as kind of a placeholder, I'm using a large sponge dauber and picking up some white pigment ink and adding that over all of those areas. So there's going to be these centerpieces and then also just some really fun little elements in between the flowers. I didn't go super heavy-handed here. You can see it is just very faint in the background, which is really pretty, but I'm not going to leave it like that. I do end up changing this because I know that I'm going to want to add some white splatter. So those white ink blended areas are just not going to look quite right, but you'll see how I adjust that later on. Next, I'm going to bring in the gift card envelope. So there again, I'm holding that down with some Post-it tape, and then I'm taking this 2-inch Post-it tape and I'm masking off the edges. I just want that centerpiece. This is what you're going to see when it's all folded up. Now you can use masking magic, you can use Post-it tape, even just scratch paper. I just happen to have my 2-inch Post-it tape, which I find very helpful. Then I'm going to repeat all of the steps that I did before, where I'm bringing in each layer. Now you'll notice I did not clean off my stencils in between. I just left it the way it was. I lined it up over my gift card area that is going to be on display. And I started off with that red velvet ink once again. The second layer for the centers, I will be coming in with that faded brick. Now here I wanted to show you that faded brick really dried back. There wasn't much of a difference. I'm still going to start with it as a kind of a base. But what I decided to do to really kind of enhance that is bring in chocolate truffle. So this is a really nice dark brown. I'm just using another mini ink blending brush to get in that area. I don't necessarily cover the whole thing and I'm not going heavy-handed. I just needed something to go over the top to really provide that contrast and show the difference in the layers of the stencil. So that worked out really well. Then I can finish going through the remaining layers of the stencil, again, starting with the leaves and the light spruce ink. Now I will recommend that wiping off your leaves stencil in between because the last color I did was the dark spruce. So I did wipe this off just with a paper towel or a rag. I didn't clean it very well, just kind of wiping off that excess color. For the fourth layer of the stencil, which is the centerpiece and also those added elements in between, I decided to just go with chocolate truffle for this. You could use a yellow or a really dark yellow, but I thought the chocolate truffle was kind of vintagey looking. I really liked the look of that on the craft. Now as I remove that Post-it tape, you can see how we have it just decorated on the part that's going to be facing up once it's all folded together. I will go ahead and fold these sides in so you can get a better idea. This just kind of goes right into that slit, so it's going to provide that closure. You could always add, maybe if you have some stickers or something fun to put on the front of that. I'm just going to be leaving mine for now, but this turned out super cute to have that decorated right on that one side. Then I'm moving on to the gift tag holder. Now this one, there is a little bit of a scored line at the top. It is not meant for folding, I don't believe. It is just kind of a decorative edge. So that is where I placed my Post-it tape at the top and also masking off the bottom. Again, I'm going through all the layers of the stencil, adding in my color, starting with that red velvet, then coming in with the faded brick and adding in that little bit of a darker shade with the chocolate truffle. I thought this was really neat to have everything be all matchy-matchy. Normally my Christmases, my tree, my presents, they're not matchy-matchy, but with this stencil, it made it so easy to decorate the front of everything that I'm going to have for this. So that was moving through the leaves and also those little elements in between. Beautifully how that turned out. Now to give you an idea, I'll just kind of fold these pieces in. The sides fold inside so it tucks in. That's what's going to hold your gift card. You could put the design on that other side too, but I'm going to leave that open. That's where I'm going to put my to and from. Now this part was actually not a part of my original plan, and I don't know why I didn't think of it at first, but I ran and grabbed an envelope. I have some envelopes from Gina K Designs. This is a craft one, which of course matches perfectly with everything else, and I decided to decorate the envelope. Now here I'm going to have it so the flowers are going to be down in that bottom left-hand corner. So I made sure to mask off the other areas so I'm not getting any of that ink kind of trailing off onto the right-hand side. And I didn't want any definitive lines from my stencil. And this one turned out super pretty as well. I don't know why I don't decorate my envelopes more often. Now, one thing I did want to do is just for some fun, I was going to add a little bit of ink blending to the edges. It's beautiful as is, of course, but I did bring in my brush and just use up some of the leftover ink I had on there and just did it in that bottom left-hand corner. So I have all of my pieces decorated. I have a card front and envelope and 2 gift tag holders. And I'm going to bring them all in to show you here. It is so great to see this all in one place. But of course, I am going to add splatters to everything because that's just what I do. So I'm going to be bringing in a splat box. And one of my favorite things I like to add is white splatter, especially on top of Kraft Cardstock. So again, I brought in my Post-it tape and I masked off those areas just like I did when I was stenciling. I have some white paint here that I mixed with a little bit of water, and I have a small paintbrush. Now your paintbrush does help determine your splatters. The skinnier the paintbrush, the smaller your splatters are going to be. I'm also going to be bringing in this Shimmery Snow Glimmer spray, I think she calls it. I sprayed a little bit down onto my work surface, and I'm going to add that to my background as well. With those glimmer sprays, be sure to shake them up really well to get everything all mixed up. Of course, splatter is always optional. I know some people would prefer the clean and simple look, and that looks great as well. I just really love that mix of the fine white splatter and that shimmery snow in there. So I will move on and use this on all my other pieces. Now there is one thing I would probably change, and that would be to stamp my sentiments first. If you're going to do any stamping directly onto your projects, I would stamp them first and then come in and add the splatter. Sometimes the splatter acts like a resist, so you might not get the most clean impression. I also added to the envelope, and I was able to focus my splatters just in that bottom corner. Then the last one I have here is my card front. I was still debating what exactly I was going to do because you can see it's a little bit different than the rest of my cards. So before I get too carried away with the card front, I will take it and die cut it from the Master Layouts 2 die set. This is going to just give me a white or a nice kind of margin around everything, and I'm able to focus what part of the flowers I want for my card front. After I had die cut that out, I did decide to come back in with that chocolate truffle and the Stencil 4 and add in those dark brown areas just to make everything consistent. I thought about using paste, but that takes a while to dry, and I was trying to incorporate things that wouldn't take too long. I'm going to add a sentiment to the card front, and this is Merry Christmas. I thought this was a beautiful script that fit well on the bottom of my envelope. This comes from the Season's Greetings stamp set. Of course, you can use any sentiment that you have in your stash. I thought this was just really pretty and kind of tied in well with the flowers. So I'm stamping that in a black ink. I'm going to stamp it a couple times because you're going to see I have splatters there on the bottom. And I want to make sure I'm just getting a really good impression of that Merry Christmas. This isn't an envelope I plan on mailing. This is one I plan on just hand delivering or putting with a present. So you may want to think about that when you're doing your stamping, is if you plan on mailing it or hand delivering it. Now for my other sentiments, I'm using the Feeling Frosty stamp set. And there was a Merry Christmas on there. One of the reasons I chose this sentiment is not only is it super cute, but it also has a coordinating die. So I have a piece of heavyweight cardstock that I'm going to stamp this on, and I'm going to stamp it twice because I'm going to use it on 2 of my items. So all I do is just flip my cardstock, and I'm going to stamp it one more time, And then I'm going to bring in another sentiment. And this one I thought just had a very Santa's workshop feel to it with all its swirls in there. This one happens to come from the Season's Greetings stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that right in the middle. I need to have room for when I die cut it out. Now, after I have everything stamped, I am going to take my scissors and just trim out those two Merry Christmas so that it leaves me with Season's Greetings there in the center. I'm going to use the coordinating die to die cut out Merry Christmas. So I'm going to line that up, hold that down with a low tack tape and die cut that out. I'm also going to die cut it out a few more times from a white cardstock so I have some layers to add for dimension. Now this frame comes from the Master Layouts 7. I thought it was a really pretty label, kind of tied into almost that Santa's workshop feeling that I was having. And then I can start layering everything together. I'm using my Connect glue that I have in a fine tip bottle, added that to the back of my sentiment, and then I can layer these together. So I will do that for everything. The first one that I'm going to complete is the gift card envelope. This one requires no adhesive. All I did was go through those lines again. I reinforced the folds with my bone folder. And then I can, well, of course you want to put your gift card or your note, whatever's going to go inside, but I just left it blank for right now. And I tucked that one end into the slit. So we don't need to seal this. It actually does stay shut. But if you want to decorate it, of course, you could add a really cute sticker to that side. Then I can add liquid glue to the back of my sentiment, and this is going to go directly on the front. I love how that pop of white is against the Kraft cardstock, and it also kind of helps bring out that white splatter just a little bit. Now, once I have that positioned exactly where I want it, I'm going to place that down, and then I will set something heavy on it and just let that sit for a minute or so. While that's drying, I will work on my gift card tag. So for this one, before I do any putting together, I want to get my to and from on here. And I found a to and from off of the Blizzard stamp set. Look through your stash, you may have another one. This was just the first one I found in my stash. So I just put that on a comfort block. I inked it up with a black ink, and I'm going to stamp it onto that other side, or that kind of clear area of my tag. So this is what's going to be in the back of my tag. I'll then take some double-sided tape and add it to those two flaps on the side. This is the only part we are going to need to adhere together. Now, I probably could have done this a little bit easier. You can fold in both sides and place it down together at once. For some reason, my brain, I think, was just in a fog, and I did this a little more of a difficult step where I did one at a time. Either way, it still worked out, but it might be easier to do both flaps at once when you are adhering that together. So now we have this adorable little pocket tag. This one, I'm also going to just put the Merry Christmas on the front. You could use a whole different array of sentiments. I was trying to keep this as simple and to a minimum amount of supplies as possible. My tag is finished up, and I did finish my card off screen. All I did was take my die cut panel from the Master Layouts 2. I added foam tape behind that and added that to another piece of Kraft cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I placed my sentiment on the front using foam squares as well. I'm going to add a few of the gold pearls to the front of my card. I'm not going to do it to my envelope or my tag because I was worried that it would more likely get bumped off. The tag I do plan on hanging from a tree. The gift card envelope I plan on putting in a stocking. But look how cute this looks with that matching envelope. I love kind of this homemade, almost kind of country style feel with the Kraft cardstock. Now you can also put that gift card envelope inside of your card too, but I think they make just really great stocking stuffers. Here I have a Starbucks card that I plan on putting in one of them because my daughter loves going to Starbucks, so that'll be able to just tuck right inside. And of course, this gift card is going to work perfectly in the gift card tag. I will just take it out of here. I do have to go and get another gift card. I haven't decided if I'll do another Starbucks or if I'm going to grab one to her favorite store, but it's going to fit perfectly in the back here too. Now, I think this is really cute to hang on a tree, or, I mean, you could even do like hanging on a dresser handle or maybe a doorknob just as kind of a fun surprise. I am attaching some twine to this so I can hang it from the tree, and I'll tie a little knot at the top so it's going to create a loop for me to hang it. Now, I promised you a special surprise, and Gina has graciously given you a discount to the main supplies I used today in the video. You can use the code Mindy15, so my name and the number 15, for 15% off these select items. The items included are the Christmas Flowers Layering Stencil, the gift card tag die, the gift card envelope die, and the 3 stamp sets I used, which were Blizzard, Feeling Frosty, and Season's Greetings. So those 6 main supplies you can get at 15% off with my code Mindy15. I will provide the information down in the video description and over on my blog. I'm also going to be posting a special link that should give you the discount if you add those to your cart. So let me know if you have any problems with that. That code expires midnight on Thursday, so November 16th. You have time to use that code. And that wraps up my matching gift set. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this has inspired you and get you in the mood to create some matching sets because they are really pretty, not only to create, but also to give. Again, all of my supplies are listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I will see you again real soon.